When are you most fully alive? My friend Rhonda Magee felt fully alive when she was 16 years old. The world was opening up for her. College was just around the corner. Life had not been easy, but she had reason to hope. She had fallen head over heels in love with one of her classmates, a boy named Jake. And they just loved each other so much, and it was the first love they'd ever felt like that. But then, just before she left town for a summer university course, Jake called her and told her over the phone, "My father has kicked me out of the house." And she asked him why. And he said, "You know why. I told you how he is. It's because of us." He said, no son of his is ever going to be dating a black girl. Now, this was absolutely devastating for my friend Rhonda, and fortunately, she felt very supported by Jake. She was an A student. She was about to be chosen as the teenager of the year by her town. And yet her race, a category created by others and that she felt did not really capture much of who she really was, made her unacceptable to Jake's family. His parents had never met her, and they were willing to hurt their own son, and therefore themselves, all to teach him, Rhonda, and anyone else a lesson. They believed in white supremacy so strongly that they were ready to throw their own son out like garbage. We all have beliefs like this. They diminish us, and they damage the people who are around us. The social theorist Bell Hooks asserts that racism in America is a crisis of what she calls lovelessness. And certainly, current anti-LGBTQ plus legislation illustrates this terrible lovelessness that has this country in its grip. The poverty in the city does too. But these are just a few of many stories that we carry that poison our life. They prevent us from ever being fully alive. The stories we tell about ourselves as individuals also can harm us. Even as a child, the psychologist Brené Brown knew that, quote, people will do almost anything to not feel pain, including causing pain and abusing power. She realized that very few people can handle being held accountable without rationalizing, blaming, or shutting down. And as a result, without understanding how our feelings, thoughts, and behaviors work together, it's almost impossible to find our way back to ourselves and each other. When we don't understand how our emotions shape our thoughts and decisions, we become disembodied from our own experiences and disconnected from each other. We feel alive when we come home to ourselves and to God, when we can become connected in a new way to our past and to each other. This encounter, this forgiveness we experience in Jesus, that's what lies at the heart of the resurrection. Easter is the chance for a new story to take hold in our life. It is the beginning of a new era when everyone will belong and everyone will have the chance to thrive. God's love dares to include even those who do not fit, the ones who normal people and the powerful cannot abide. Through God, we can become free of the hold that fear and death have on us. I loved hearing my friend Miguel read the gospel today. It just moved me in a way that was surprising since I've read it so many times in my life and this week. But it's extraordinary, that feeling that the women had, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary. They were together. They felt the earth shaking. They saw the angel that looked like lightning that rolled away the stone from the tomb. They saw the guards who became like dead men from their fear. They saw a light from heaven, and they knew that Easter would never be the same. This is an amazing thing, and yet all that happened before is the important part of the resurrection. Now, resurrection is not something that's understandable, and Easter is not something understandable either, but it does not mean it's illogical. Matt Fitzgerald remembers the Easter when his daughter was in kindergarten. And I remember this too, when our children were in kindergarten. The church sent them home with little purple plastic eggs. And, the purple plastic eggs are very disappointing eggs. They don't have any chocolate or candy in them. Instead, they have like a little piece of paper that looks like, those like little Chinese cookie fortunes that you get. And on it, there are 3 words. And so Matt's daughter, she was in kindergarten, she was just learning how to read. And so she practiced sounding it out, the 3 words. He is raisins. Now, the expression, he is raisins, is illogical. He is risen is merely incomprehensible to us. When we speak about God, we have to distinguish between things that do not make sense and things that we cannot make sense of. Because God cannot be contained, confined, described, or defined. We can meet God, though, in the person of Jesus on Easter morning. Now, the Gospel of Matthew is different than Mark and Luke. In the Gospels of Mark and Luke, they go to the women go to the tomb to anoint the body of Jesus. In the Gospel of Matthew, they go to see the tomb. The Greek word is theoreo. It means to observe. It's related to our word for theory. It means that you're involved in the thing that you're watching. It's not like you're dispassionate. You care about what's happening. And so they go. It's that same word is the word that we use for theater too. So you go to the theater to see how people interact on a stage so that it will change how you interact in your life. So they go, and when they go, they meet the angel, and the 2 women are running. You remember they leave the tomb quickly with fear and great joy. I love that. A little bit of fear, a lot of joy. And Jesus then meets them. And Jesus says a word that's not a word that we have in English. It's kaireta. It means both hello, and it also means rejoice. And so it's like aloha. It means hello, goodbye, and it means I love you. So Jesus says rejoice, hello. And he said, do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee. There I shall see them. And this is a message from Jesus of forgiveness. He's worried that his friends who abandoned him are going to be afraid to see him because they're worried that he's going to judge them or condemn them. And this is a way of forgiving them for what had happened. Now, in the 2nd century, Irenaeus, the saint, said that the human being is the glory of God as the human being fully alive. And being able to forgive, like Jesus, and being and feeling forgiven is central to being fully alive. And so is that experience of joy that the women experience so much of. Greek also has 2 words. This is my last Greek words for you for today. But they have 2 words, one for happiness and one for joy. The word for happiness in Greek is makarios. So it's in the Gospel of Matthew, in the Beatitudes. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. All those different blessings. It's makarios, and what it means is they use that word for someone who had good fortune, like someone who didn't have to worry about things because they had enough wealth and privilege to not have to have the same concerns that normal people had. So it's like that's a kind of happiness comes from good fortune. And the Greeks contrasted that to what they used, the word that they used for joy is kara. So you can see it's karete, just like Jesus said when he greeted them. Kara, it's related to the word charis, like grace. And that is a different kind of joy altogether. It's the joy that we only experience when we're completely in God. And it's the kind of joy that we get closer and closer to the more we're alive. Because the longer we're alive, the more experiences we have, the more mature we come, the more wisdom we gather, the more virtue attracts us, the more close to God we get. Now, joy, though, despite being able to define it in ancient Greek words, is incredibly difficult for us because it requires us to be vulnerable. Last winter, I came across a great expression. It's a feeling that I recognize. Maybe you'll recognize it too. The expression, the word is foreboding joy. So you know that feeling, right? When you think, oh, I'd really like to feel happy right now, but if I feel too happy, then something might come along and ruin it. Do you know that feeling? That is foreboding joy. And psychologists say that 95% of all parents feel this feeling with their children. Like, if I get too into this, if I enjoy it too much, something's going to happen that's going to ruin it. So we hold back because we think it will make us hurt less later. One man in his 60s said, "I used to think that the best way to go through life was to expect the worst. That way, if it happened, you were prepared. And if it didn't happen, you would be pleasantly surprised. Then I was in a car accident and my wife was killed. Needless to say, expecting the worst didn't prepare me at all. And worse, I still grieve for all those wonderful moments we shared and that I didn't fully enjoy. My commitment to her is to enjoy fully every moment. I just wish she was here now that I know how to do that." How do you experience that feeling of being totally joyful in every moment? First means that we have to allow ourselves to be vulnerable, to recognize the world is full of hurt and that we can be hurt too. It means a willingness to really feel joy when we meet it and to let others see our weaknesses. But beyond that, there is a way of being that encourages us to experience joy, and that is the practice of gratitude. Now, many people think of gratitude as kind of like a mental state, like an emotion or a thought or a way of looking at things in your head. But gratitude is really a practice. It's something that you actually do. You try, you fail at, you try it again. Gratitude is something that we do over and over again. And here at Grace Cathedral, that's what we experience every single day we walk in here, because our prayer life should be first and foremost about gratitude, and only secondarily about what we're missing or lacking. I had an incredible moment of gratitude last week. I had a very old man who came, and he really wanted to see the archives of Grace Cathedral. And so deep below us in the crypt, I took him into the locked archives room. And there, as I was poking around, I found a sermon from my hero, Alan Jones. He preached it in 1990 from this spot. And I wanted so badly just to read the whole sermon to you today. But instead, I'm just going to share the important parts of it. It's almost the end of the sermon, so it's not very much. Alan referred in his sermon to a French priest named Jean Solivet, who described Western cultures as spiritually impoverished and underdeveloped, as unawake and unaware of the miracle right in front of their noses. And so Alan's whole sermon is about that miracle in front of our noses. And you know what that is? It's the miracle of our being. The miracle that we are, that we exist. Look at your hand for a moment and just appreciate just how wonderfully well made you are and all the things that you've done with that hand and how it's been there faithful for you, whether you asked it for it or not. It's always been there for you. Now, I don't know, many of you are interested in famous people. I have my own set of famous people. Heidi always jokes that my famous people are all theologians. But if I look back over history, one of the people I would most like to spend a day with is that wacky poet, Walt Whitman, from the 1800s. The guy who used to run around naked in the fields. I would love to spend a day with him. And I have a poem that I want to close my sermon today with. It's called Miracles. So this is from Walt Whitman. "As to me, I know of nothing else but miracles. Whether I walk the streets of Manhattan or dart my sight over the roofs of houses toward the sky or wade with naked feet along the beach just in the edge of the water, or talk by day with anyone I love, or sleep in the bed at night with anyone I love, or sit at table at dinner with the rest, or look at strangers opposite me riding in the car, or watch honeybees around the hive of a summer forenoon, or the wonderfulness of the sundown, or of stars shining so quiet and bright, or the exquisite, delicate, thin curve of the new moon in spring. These, with the rest, one and all, are to me miracles, the whole referring, yet each distinct and in its place." As we try to become our own version of the teenager of the year, when are we most fully alive? In the face of overwhelming lovelessness and the pain that causes more pain, there is a new story. Jesus calls us home to ourselves and to God. So in gratitude, let us see the world with a new intent. Let us leave behind our foreboding joy and know nothing else but miracles. The Lord is risen.